ghosts are real. The belief in the paranormal is mostly waning among people of our time, but this has not stopped paranormal activity from happening. If you've never experienced these, it's easy to discard them as figments of the imagination. But listen to these stories and tell us, how would you explain them? Number 1. Never play with a Ouija board. It was a Halloween night, and a group of high schoolers had decided to stay back in the school to play with a Ouija board after their school Halloween party. There was a rumor that the school was haunted, but that was all it was, a rumor. The school was an old Spanish colonial house built in the 19th century, at a time when Spaniards still occupied the Philippines. Sitting in the middle of an open space with a bare bulb hanging overhead, the kids began to play, scaring each other and having fun. After a while, the kids brought out the Ouija board and began to call out for the spirits living in the property. There was no response the first few times the kids carried out this. They were about to give up when the wind gradually began to pick up. Still taking it as a joke, the kids began to throw random questions at the wind, but again, there was no response. Suddenly, the dogs in the neighborhood began to growl and bark, baring their teeth. The kids bolted directly home immediately, but that's when the story got even creepier. After the party, the kids were on their way home when one of them realized that she didn't go out with her house keys. She called her brother to open the door for her when her brother said the creepiest thing. He had already seen her drag herself inside the house, all tired, and head straight for her bed. In fact, as far as she was concerned, she was already home. Another one of the kids shared a somewhat different yet creepy experience. She was going up the stairs, heading to her room, when the lights began to flicker. At first, she chalked it up to faulty wiring, but she immediately banished that thought when she saw a dark figure whose face she couldn't make out, and he was standing at the top of her staircase, staring down at her. Not freaked out yet? Another one of the kids woke up to see what he described as a bloody, charred face with piercing red eyes grinning at him through his window. And still, on that same night, another one of the kids was sleeping in his mom's sedan on the way home when he felt the car jerk. On waking up, he realized that they'd been hit by an oil tanker. Thankfully, he and his mom survived the crash. None of the kids ever went near the Ouija board again. Number 2. Grandma's Light. This Redditor tells the story of his grandma, who always kept her light on and never told her grandson why, until one day when he turned his grandma's light off. Scared and freaked out, Grandma gave him a slap, but later apologized and explained to him that the light was a ghost light, which she got because she was having so many run-ins with spirits living in her house. The young man stopped visiting his grandma afterward until he eventually got the call that his grandma was dead and he was to inherit her house as her only living relative. The young man decided to move into his grandma's house from his home in the city. His grandma's light was still there, but that night he described that he wasn't going to turn it on. He didn't believe in ghosts. Besides, the moon was big and bright that night, and he didn't see the need. Later that night, while in bed, he started to hear scratching. Thinking it was rats, he started searching around the house for whatever they were. Shockingly, it turned out it wasn't rats at all. Crouched to one corner of the living room was an old, gaunt woman, scratching the floors where the walls met and cocking her head every few minutes. He approached the mysterious figure, hoping to find out who she was and help her if she was lost. However, when she turned to look back at him, all he saw were empty black eyes and a hanging jaw, but also familiar wrinkles and curls of wispy hair. The figure then screamed, and that's when the young man realized it was his grandma all along. He immediately shrieked and stumbled backwards, searching for the nearest lamp. Turning it on, the figure immediately disappeared, and that's when he knew he had seen a ghost. According to the Redditor, he never turned off the ghost light again. Number 3. Grandma the Friendly Ghost. Big Shala shares this story on Reddit. Her daughter was 2 at the time, and on that fateful day, like kids that age don't want to do, she was throwing a bit of a tantrum. For close to 10 minutes, no one could get her under control. But the toddler suddenly was transfixed by something on the wall and then just stopped acting out. In fact, she began to giggle a little, going from wailing and screaming to smiling and being calm in just seconds. After that, she began repeating the words, "Funny lady," over and over again, but no one was doing anything funny, so they asked the toddler who she was referring to. But she just kept pointing to the wall and saying the words, "Funny lady," again and again. When asked to describe her, the 2-year-old proceeded to describe a woman her mother realized was her own mother, whom, by the way, her toddler had never met before that time. Big Shala maintains that she's not much of a believer in the paranormal, but here's where things get even stranger. Big Shala later recorded the experience with her daughter to her parents. Interestingly, they were not surprised. Apparently, she herself had the same experience with her deceased grandfather when she was 3 years old. According to her parents, the exact same thing happened to her 30 years ago. Number 4. Birthdays are for ghosts too. This story is told by Colonial83 on Reddit. She had just moved into a new house with her daughter. However, in the process, the renter who was living in the house at the time died of natural causes while in his mid-40s, just after she moved into the house with her daughter, who was a toddler at the time. Her kid begins to talk about a ghost living in the house with them, but she doesn't seem afraid of the ghost. In fact, she considers the ghost to be her friend. Her mom wasn't too sure how real this ghost was, but wasn't too worried about it either, since it appeared that the ghost was a friendly one. Besides, she was convinced that it was her daughter's imagination, fueled by her Halloween book, as the reason she was seeing things. On a dark, rainy morning, before leaving for daycare, her daughter told her that the ghost was on the back deck and that she'd like to sing with him the birthday song, because, according to her, that day was his birthday. The kid's mother disregarded the whole notion unusually because she knew that her daughter was obsessed with birthdays, so she allowed her to sing the birthday song anyway, and even joined in just to humor her. Later that day, out of pure curiosity, the woman goes back to look up the obituary of the former owner of the house, and you wouldn't know it. It was indeed his birthday. Number 5. Shower Buddy. Kevin Credible 22 recalls taking a shower one day with the door locked. Suddenly, he heard the blinds fall down, which made him freak out just like anyone else would. He pulled back the blinds to see if anyone is playing a prank on him, but he wasn't prepared for what he would see. When he pulled up the blinds to look at the window, he found that it was completely fogged over. But on closer observation, he sees one single large handprint on the window. So he hurried to finish his shower so he could tell his family members what he saw. They each compared their handprints to the one on the window, but no one was able to match this large handprint. Number 6. The Ghost Who Loved Country Music. Redditor Hill Bean lived in an old house in Memphis. Oftentimes, in the middle of the night, he would wake up to the sound of country music coming from his radio. This Redditor wasn't exactly a fan of country music, but each night he would wake up to the sound of that country music. He would then have to change the dial back to his preferred station while preparing for work every morning. So, who turned the dial? No one knows. He lived alone. So there you have it. Do you believe in ghosts now? Let us know in the comment section. And don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel if you'd like us to keep making videos like this for you. And thank you for watching.